Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to generate documentation for our NestJS Job Posting API using Swagger and Compodoc. And if you have a WordPress website or if you're planning to have one, you can download Elementor for free. Elementor is the best page builder for WordPress. There is a link in the description below. Remember to share, like, and subscribe, and let's get started. Okay, so we've been working so far on our Job Posting API. And we created a controller where we defined different endpoints: get endpoints, post, put, delete. And we also created a DTO for the post and the put operations, this one. And those are the two classes that we are going to be changing, or we are going to add documentation using some Swagger decorators. Once we add those decorators, we are going to be able to generate an interactive documentation that we will be able to access from the web browser. And we're going to see the different endpoints, the schema, the data structure, some other things that we're going to define on these decorators. And we are going to be able also to test the API, get the job postings available, create new job postings, update postings, delete postings. Before adding any Swagger decorators, we need to install some dependencies. So let's do that now. npm install NestJS Swagger. And we also need to install Swagger UI Express. Remember that with NestJS, we can use Express, that is the default HTTP framework, or we can also use Fastify. And if we are using Fastify, we need to install a different set of dependencies for Swagger, but in this case, we are using Express. So we need to install specifically this one, Swagger UI Express. Okay, let's run this. Okay, the first thing that we need to do to set up Swagger, we need to go to our main.ts file, and we need to create a couple of elements here. We need to create the Swagger configuration, where we're going to set a title, a description, the version of our API. So let's do that. This is going to be Swagger config. And here I'm going to create a new document builder. And here I'm going to set the title. Let's import this first. Okay, I want to import. Document builder from NestJS/Swagger. And now I'm going to set the title. This will be Job Postings API. We're going to set the description. This is going to be job postings crowd API. We are going to set the version of the API. It's going to be 1.0. And to finish, we need to include that. We need to call the build method of the document builder object. And now we need to create a document using the Swagger module class. Const doc equals Swagger module that create document, and we need to pass the app. That is actually the application that we create with the Nest factory. And we need to pass the Swagger configuration that we just created using the document builder here. And we need to also call the setup method of the Swagger module library. And here we're going to define the URL that is going to be API. And we pass the app that is the NestJS application. And we need to pass the doc. That is the document that we created here. Okay, now let's go to the controller. And here we can add some decorators. We can add an API tags decorator, API tags. As we can see here, this decorator was automatically imported here on line 5. And here we are going to set shops as the tags for this API. Okay, and some other decorators that we can add here are, for example, we can add API, OK response is one of those. This is actually a decorator from NestJS. This extends some decorators from Swagger. And here we can pass the description. In this case, it's going to be the resource list has been successfully returned. In this case, this is the find all method where we are returning all the job postings available. So this is one of the decorators for our endpoints. And we can also add another decorator. And let's say that we want to return at some point an HTTP 403, a forbidden response. API forbidden response. We can also set a decorator for that response. And here we can add the description to document this response. So we have the description. And here we're going to say forbidden, just to keep it simple. And here we can add these decorators to the rest of the endpoints. And for the post method, we can use, here we can change, the description, the resource has been successfully returned, because here we are accessing just one element using the identifier. I'm going to add the type of identifier that is going to be a string. And I think I need to add that here as well. Yes, I'm going to add that here, string, and here. And for the post operation, there is another decorator that is the API created response. That here we're going to change the description, and this is going to be the resource has been successfully created. And for the rest, we are going to use these two. The first one is going to be the resource has been successfully updated. And the last one is going to be the resource has been successfully removed. We are going to also make some changes in our DTO. And here we're going to use the API property decorator, this one. And here we can pass some parameters. We can pass the type, that in this case is going to be a string. We can pass a description. We can put something like the title of the shop position, and we can set a default value. We're going to leave that empty. Okay, and the same for the other attribute. In this case, the type is going to be a number. You're going to say the expected salary of the shop position, and the default is going to be 3K. And let's try this. So I'm going to run npm run start dev. Okay, and now I'm going to open the browser on localhost 3000/API, and we're going to see the documentation. This is, let's go back a little bit. This is the title that we assigned here, Shop Postings API. This is the description that we assigned here, Shop Postings CRUD API. And these are all the HTTP methods. This is the default endpoint. That is actually this one. If we try this, we are going to receive the hello world, this one. So we are not going to do anything with this. Let's move on to the shops. This is the one that we just modified. For example, we can check the schema. This is the shop DTO that we just changed, adding this to decorators. So this is the title property that is a string, and this is the description that we defined it here. I'm going to fix this. And the same for the salary, the default value, and the expected salary of the shop position. This is the description that we assigned here. Okay. And if you go to the get endpoint, where we get the list of the shops, here are the responses. Here is the OK response. That is actually this one. API OK response. And this is the description. And we can see the same description here. And this is for the 403 code, the forbidden response. And this is the description that is the same that we have here. And it's going to be the same for the rest. Here, here, and the others. Okay, and let's try this one. If we run this, we only have one shop position in the database. That is this JavaScript developer position. And here we have the schema associated to the request. Let's create one. So we're going to create a new shop posting. Let's call it C++ developer. And salary 9,000. And let's run this. And here we have our new shop posting. If we go back and we execute the get operation to get the list of all the positions available, here we get the JavaScript developer and the C++ developer. Okay, and here we can also get a specific shop. For example, if I copy this identifier, and I'm going to click here and try this out, I can enter the identifier here, execute this request, and I get the expected shop posting for that identifier. And I can also modify that same object from here, or I can delete that element. So I'm going to copy this, and let's change the salary. And I need to enter the identifier. And if I run this here, I get a bad request, unexpected token. Yeah, that, okay. And here I get the updated posting. Okay, and if I go here to the get by ID, if I use that identifier, I should get the updated response. Yes, with the new salary. Okay, and now I'm going to remove this shop posting. I'm going to enter the ID here, and I'm going to execute that request. And I get that 200, so it was successfully removed. If I go back and if I get the list of all the shop postings available, I should get the JavaScript developer, and that's the only element that we have in the database. Okay, this is what I have to show you for the Swagger documentation. Now let's move on to the Compodoc documentation. So Compodoc is a documentation tool for Angular, and it also supports NestJS, and is going to generate a static documentation. So basically it's going to parse the source code of our application, and it's going to generate a bunch of HTML files that we will be able to access from the web browser. We're going to see that in a minute. And some other characteristics are it provides a clean and simple design, and it provides some themes that we can select. It supports 4 languages, and we can also search within this UI that Compodoc creates. It also generates automatically a table of contents for our documentation, and it's a local tool. It's going to run locally, of course, in our development environment, and it's going to start a web server where it's going to serve these HTML files with the documentation. And no TypeScript compilation. Compodoc is only parsing the TypeScript code as it is, so it's not transpiling anything. And it also supports some decorators from the JS doc library, at param, at returns, at link, at ignore, at example. And it also provides a reporting on the documentation coverage. And those are the main features of this tool. So let's go back to Visual Studio Code. Let's close this, and let's install the Compodoc dependency. So let's run npm install -d. This is going to be installed in the development environment at compodoc/compodoc. Okay, now that Compodoc is installed, I'm going to add a script here. And this script is going to generate the documentation and is going to open the browser on port 8080 because it's going to start an HTTP server on that port, and we are going to be able to access the documentation from localhost port 8080. So I'm going to create a script. I'm going to call it Compodoc, and the command is going to be npx compodoc -p, and it's going to take the tsconfig file. This is where we configure the transpiling of the TypeScript code, -s. And let's run that script, npm run Compodoc. And this is going to generate a folder that we're going to see here. This is documentation folder with a bunch of HTML files and folders, etc. And now we can access the documentation using this link. Okay, on the left side, we can see this index, let's say, or this table of contents. And here we can see the modules, the classes, the interfaces, some miscellaneous, and the documentation coverage reporting here. So here is the README file. Here we have some graphics of the modules of the application. Here we have the app service and the app module. This is the default module. We can zoom in. These are the default modules that come with the application. And here is the module that we created, the shops module and the shops service. And we can check more details here. We have the app controller, we have the app service. This is the default module. And here we can go to the shops module where we can see the shops controller. Here we have all the methods, the source file. Here we have all the decorators that we created for Swagger. And here we can access the DTO definition with all the properties. And let's go back. We can see all the methods of the controller. We can also access the shop service documentation, the source file, or we can see directly the source file here. And we have access to the documentation of the different methods of the service. And here we have access to the DTO, interfaces that we are using. And here we can search, for example, if we want to search for the shops controller. Here we can see that we get the results. And that's pretty much it. So this is a really good way to document our application, and it's really, really easy. You just run that command, and it generates all this HTML content for you. So that's all I have for today. Thank you guys for watching. Remember to share, like, and subscribe to the channel. And I see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye.